a funny little voice. Good morning and a very warm welcome. Saturday morning. It's a great delight to have Chris Newman with us. Some people would have met Chris already. He's become very well known in our schools at Hyde and Bremer already, and he is our new children's and families worker in the Avon Valley Churches Parish. So welcome to Chris. You're here part-time, Chris, aren't you, with us from 2 or 3 weeks ago? How's it been the first 2 weeks or so?
It's been very, very busy, which is good. It's good to throw oneself in and really get a flavour for the parish. Good.
It was fun. Mothering Sunday, you were at Fallingham Church, weren't you? And it was good to meet people there as well. How did you get into children and families worker type ministry?
It wasn't something I actively sought out, but it's funny. It's one of those things you can sort of see God was at work in it for a long time. So I've always had an affinity with children. So I used to do children's entertaining, which were a lot of my hobbies when I was younger. So like puppets and magic tricks, that sort of thing. So I was always on a similar wavelength. And but when I turned 40, I'd been made redundant, and I decided to go to theological college. Not because I particularly thought I was going to end up working at church, but I thought, do you know what? It would be good to have a degree. I left school when I was 16. Wow. And it's something I've always wanted to do. And at the very least, at the end of it, I'll be able to serve the local church in hopefully a deeper capacity. And while I was there,
where did you go?
So I went to Moorlands College, down in and my placement church was the parish of Ringwood, which was then 3 churches, and I instinctively fell into working with families. I mean, I was doing the whole range of ministry type things as you're supposed to, but I was actually asked to apply for the role of what was then youth chat for children and families worker, which was a part-time role, which meant I could go placement-based with my college course, and it was really, really, really beneficial for me because the actual degree is in applied theology, and so it was a great way to put the practice of everything we were learning, putting what we were learning into practice and just seeing how it played out when we were working with real people in real situations.
Right, you're actually applying it then.
Exactly. And from then, it's been an interesting journey, which I won't bore you with, but I've since then I've been a families minister, a families pastor, and now I'm here as a children and families worker.
Yeah, which is great. And your own family is now you're living for some while now, aren't you, in Ringwood area?
Yes. Most of us are dotted about. So I've got 6 children and 6 grandchildren as well.
Okay, lots of birthdays to remember.
Yes, they wouldn't let me forget. That's fine.
Oh, that's great. And I mean, it's a bit like, sounds like the interview now, but what was it when you saw the role here? Why apart from, well, let's not say that, but what attracted you?
I wasn't attracted at all. No.
Right. Just desperation.
No. So I've always held the Avon Valley churches in quite high regard because I value the way that you look at community, and you see yourselves as not being just for the people who come to church on a Sunday morning, but you serve the wider church. And it's something in Anglican circles we call cure of souls, which basically means church is for everyone, and we're there to support the entire community. And I've loved the things that you've done with Easter in the Bag and Christmas in a Bag, and I was very blessed to be able to do some videos and things like that for those, because I've known Joe for a few years now, and And so it was, and it was that outward looking thing that really sets me on fire. I love going out and I still bring my puppets and my magic tricks, and I'm still silly, but hopefully I do it for the glory of God. But it's not always obvious, because sometimes I'm just being silly for silly's sake, but I'm doing it with a heart, hopefully, of love for the people that I'm serving, and being able to have contact with as many people as possible, through schools, through toddler groups, through messy churches, all that sort of thing is just, it really blesses my.
Well, that's great. I mean, it's very encouraging. I think sometimes those sort of at the centre of church, especially quite complex churches like ours have been, can sometimes feel we get a bit sort of church bound. But I mean, it's actually very encouraging to hear you say that at least we may not always do it, but at least our intention is to try to serve the wider community. I very much think that's what we're here for. And some people may have heard me talk about roots down, walls down, bridges out. We need to be deepening our spirituality, making sure that as many people as possible can get into our churches and in all sorts of different ways, and then building bridges with the wider community. And that seems to be something that you've sort of picked up, I suppose. Have you got a sort of it's a bit early yet, but a kind of vision of where you think we might have opportunities with our children and families? Because children and families have been some of the most difficult to encourage back to church again for all sorts of complicated reasons. And I wonder what you think about that.
Yes, definitely. And the pandemic, particularly, 2 years in a child's life is a lifetime. But the thing is, Christ is still on the throne, and God's still in charge. The thing is, we've got to adapt. That's all. And it just means sometimes we've just got to take on new approaches to the way we do things. The most important thing is that we are engaging with families, and I mean, I this is why I'm passionate about toddler groups and early years education, because I just think that the sooner we can offer the hand of friendship and fellowship to families, the better it is, because we're helping them provide a firm foundation for their families. But what I'm looking at the moment is I'm listening. I'm doing a lot of listening. I have some ideas. I know some things that have worked in the past, but that doesn't mean that I have to do what I've done in the past, because the message, the gospel never changes, but sometimes the delivery of it does. And we've got to adapt to the situation we find ourselves in. So, but the most important thing is that we offer friendship, fellowship, a warm welcome in whatever it is we do, so that people know that we actually are doing this out of genuine love for God, but also genuine love for them, and we want the best for them. Yeah.
And it's quite a large and complicated parish, as Ringwood was. So we're not going to be able to do everything everywhere, are we? It's finding the right thing for our different local church areas and different churches and so on, and schools as well.
Exactly, and that might be just finding a few things and doing them really well. We can't possibly do everything. I mean, if I could, I'd come in and say, do you know what? It would be brilliant to have an all-access youth club as well, because there is a genuine need for that in the town. I'd like to say that we could provide some accessible services, so something that would really speak to families who have no church background and who might find church a bit intimidating. So, but these are all things that are sort of bubbling around in the mix, and at the moment I'm just seeking to bless what God is already doing, because I think that's a strategy that tends to work.
That's very wise, I think. It's a bit like new vicars coming in and changing everything in the first week, isn't it, without listening? What would you say is the heart of the gospel that you're trying to share with people in all of your children's work in schools, with young families, in church and after church, really?
Well, I think the heart of the gospel is relationship, and so for me, as we're coming up to Easter now, we're seeing what God did to restore the relationship between us and him, and how much it cost him by putting Jesus on that cross. And it was, and it really was a very costly thing. If you think that Jesus went on the cross and he became sin, he became detestable to his own Father, and that must have just, that heart-wrenching moment when Jesus was on that cross and he said, why have you forsaken me? And that was that. And but because of that, the good news is Jesus didn't stay in the ground. He was resurrected. And because of that, we can have this amazing full relationship with God. And so, like I say, it all hangs on relationship. This is why a warm welcome is important, because we're modeling the fact that we have a relationship with our living, risen Saviour. And because of that, our life is so much more full. We have real purpose and meaning to our lives. And it means that if that's true of us, then therefore our lives are spent actually trying to share something of that, and sometimes that is telling people exactly about what Jesus did for us on that cross. And sometimes it's showing them by exhibiting that love in the community through acts of service. And so for me, it really is good news. It's good news that we can have this eternal life with Jesus, and God loves us. God likes us. He's not an authoritarian father figure who's wagging his finger at us. He's done everything in his power to make a way for us. We've just got to take it. And so for me, it's amazing.
Yeah, I think relationships are at the heart of it all, aren't they? I don't think you can't really share the gospel unless you've got a relationship with somebody already. No. I think we're building those relationships. All the evidence shows that it takes time, doesn't it, for people to recognise God working within them. And we've got wonderful stories of that. Were you brought up in a Christian home?
I was. I've got this is the trouble when you get to my age, you have such a long story. It's trying to work out what to leave out. But basically, I became a teenage father, and it wasn't till then, in that moment of crisis, that I realised that I hadn't actually made a decision. Because I've been baptised and brought up, I hadn't actually made that decision to follow Jesus for myself, and that I had to. And that was through a little house church, and Sam and I have been involved with Anglican churches most of our lives, but also the Methodist Church. Again, this comes into this church without barriers things. I think Christians should all be working together, and and the Bible, Jesus in the Bible, it speaks about how the church is the bride of Jesus, of the Christ. And I love that, because there can only, he's not a bigamist, he's only going to get married to one bride, and we are it for good or ill. And and that's really helped me, because particularly working in Ringwood, all the churches together is quite strong there, and I can see here that there are lots of links between the churches as well, which is great.
Yeah, I think we've got a kind of warm friendship between the churches, which is mainly supported by the Ministers' Breakfast at the moment, but there's churches together as well. And of course, the Easter story, when we're going to try and tell this story you've been talking about on Good Friday, the 15th of April, and that's welcome. That's open to all of our children and families as well. Everyone will be very welcome to that. Yeah,
that should be a lot of fun.
It should be. I think so. If we can put it all together by then, it's going to be great. That's 11 o'clock on Good Friday. Yeah. I know you're not alone, and I don't know if you want to introduce the friend that you've got sitting with you today. We've not seen much of him so far.
He's actually been quite good.
He has been quite quiet. Yes.
Yeah.
So hello. Who's this?
This is Jim.
Hiya.
Oh, hello.
You're
Hello,
right.
Jim. All right. And have you found? Nice to see you. How have you found coming to Hidden Valley churches?
No, Jim, just behave, all right?
He's quite enthusiastic.
You promised me real sweets if I was quiet.
Yes, okay, but I haven't got any more sweets on me. You've not eaten all, have you?
Yeah, I have.
Have you?
Look,
So, yeah,
look,
see what I can find. What I can find.
Gary's talking to us. Can you see him?
Hi, Gary.
Hi
You
there.
all
You met lots of children last Sunday, didn't you, at church?
right? I did. I've been doing lots of meeting of children. I've been to all the schools as well.
Have
Have
you?
you been? Yeah, he has been to all the
Oh, yeah, that's good.
all the assemblies we've done so far.
Yeah.
You come.
Yeah,
And it
I have.
wasn't too frightening seeing all those children together.
No, I think they were all frightened of me, actually.
You did?
Well, that's actually not what I've heard. I think they quite enjoyed meeting you.
That's my face, that is.
Can you stop?
It is, isn't it?
This is
There
an
you go.
interview. It's very, very serious.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll be serious.
Don't have to do this for too long, though.
It hurts.
Okay, right.
You've
sorry.
you've had a good start as well, Jim, have you?
I have. It's been great.
Great. That's what we're glad to hear. Well, you will be appearing, I know, and lots of people get the chance to meet you.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. All right then.
Okay.
You put that down there now.
Do I have to?
Yeah, I'll find
I'll
some
see if
more.
I can find you a biscuit afterwards.
Biscuits. I like
Yeah.
biscuits.
Do you? That's good.
Yeah. Have you got any of those ones with flies in?
They're not flies. Garibaldi's.
Oh, right.
No, I've got one with chocolate in. Anyway, right. Well, there we go. That was good. Well, thank you. It's great having you with us. And we're really looking forward to getting to know you better. And I know the wider church, the wider community will meet you at lots of things over the coming weeks. So a very warm welcome. And we hope all goes well over the time ahead. Tomorrow morning, we are streaming from, I think it's Hale Church tomorrow at 10. And then Monday to Friday, we either have a thought for the day, or on Fridays, we say morning prayer on Zoom, all at 10 o'clock. And everyone's very welcome. And I hope you have a really good rest of Saturday. Thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you, Chris.
Bye.